Hello and welcome to the fourth part of the Sly for Any Percent tutorial series. In this part we'll cover the jobs Under Arrest, Jailhouse Blues, Cooper for Hire and Saloon Bug. And these four jobs form the first half of episode 2, Go West Young Raccoon. So when you enter episode 2, this info box will appear, and of course you're just gonna press circle and X to get to the hub world. But it has to be noted that this is actually the last info pop-up screen that will appear when entering Safe House again in the rest of the entire game. So until this point the run has been filled with these screens that pop up when you're brought back to the safe house. But this is actually the last time this is gonna happen, so after this one you can mash X button or mash triangle button to go to the thief net for every single job after this, with one exception that's in episode 5. So with that in mind, let's go to the hub world for the first time. After this load you're gonna want to hold up left and instantly start holding 1 o'clock after you see that the load has been completed. Like this. Normally I would go into the job, but I'm just gonna show the spawning location that happens every time when you spawn in the hub world, and it looks like this. Just simply running forward makes you just run against this little fence here. So after exiting safe house, you're gonna want to hold either up left or then hold forward and jump instantly. These are pretty much the only two scenarios that can happen in the any percent route of episode 2. So either up left or jump instantly when the load completes, like this. So episode 2 hub world is the biggest hub world in the game, and it has a unique feature that isn't present in any other hub world, and with this feature I am referring to the train tracks. By using the train tracks, Sly and Tennessee can travel much faster than by running. So remember the unit speeds that I talked about in the first part of the series, where I told you that jumping and paragliding speed is 7.5 and running speed is 9.5? Well, even though the rail sliding speed varies a bit based on if you're sliding uphill or downhill, on average the rail sliding speed is equivalent to 15 in unit speeds. So this is a lot, but we're obviously not going to use them for everything, only when it's faster. But also do not overestimate the power of rail sliding speeds. In example, if it looks like that in your opinion I wasn't utilizing the train tracks as much as I could have with certain movement, with certain routes, then that's just that. They actually won't save any more time. They're not completely overpowered. So let's go to Under Arrest and mash start when you hit the job trigger in order to skip the cinematic. Now after the cinematic you're not gonna spawn where the job trigger is located, which would be right here. No, you're actually gonna get a unique spawning location on the left side of the safe house entrance. So after the load you want to hold 1 o'clock and jump instantly when the load ends. And then just single jump, paraglide on the train tracks, and single jump, and when you reach this trigger instantly press circle plus start. So what I do is that I press circle only once. I don't mash circle here for convenience's sake, since I have to press start instantly after that anyways. So I just quickly slide my thumb from circle to start button, and we're gonna skip these cinematics. This is what you want to do throughout this job. So let's see the spawning location for this next section, and it looks like this. Now here, if you're gonna hold forward, you're probably gonna ledge grab or fall down. Now the backup here is to paraclimb up, but this is slower compared to the intended strat, which is to paraglide on top of the train tracks and then just run to the next trigger. So what I do is that I hold 1 o'clock from the load and then just jump on the train tracks after the train has passed. If you jump on the train tracks too quickly, the train is gonna kill you. And you might also ledge grab, but then the ledge grabbing gives you probably a high enough jump to just jump on the train tracks again. So let's move on. So that's the movement what you want to do. And then circle start. Skip cinematic, and after this cinematic hold up left and mash X and circle like this. So this is what it looks like when you spawn. And we want to go all the way over there, so we're going to use the train tracks for the first time. And you can jump on the train tracks all the way from here, even with a single jump circle boost by holding up left, like this. And here you want to change the track instantly after you land on it. After switching the rail, you want to rail slide for a few seconds and jump off right here. You want to do a double jump circle boost on that telephone line, and it happens like this. But if your angle is not optimal, you're probably gonna just end up latching onto the pole itself. But this is just fine, you can just jump over it and continue from either side you want. I'll probably recommend left side. And after that you're gonna jump off and single jump and paraglide to the next trigger. So here's the route at its full glory. The camera angle doesn't have time to pan to its normal location, so you're just gonna intuitively know what to do here. And once again, circle plus start, like this. Skip the cinematic and hold upright after the load, but instantly switch holding directly forwards when you see that the load has completed. This is what it looks like after the load, so our next destination is over there. The guard is always gonna spawn. When you do a cane swing and press X button before the cane swing animation has finished, Sly will do a jump instantly after the animation completes. So here when hitting the guard, you can press X instantly after square and start mashing circle already. You'll probably get a single jump circle boost on the telephone line then. After you have attached to the rail, jump off and double jump circle boost on the next telephone line. And instantly upon landing on this line, you'll want to jump off from it and do a single jump onto the train tracks like this. But here you can't do a circle boost because if you press circle too early, Sly will just re-grab the telephone line. So then rail slide until this spot right here. Here is when you want to press X to hop off. Over here. Trigger is down there, so the movement you want to do is to land over here and instantly switch holding towards the trigger when you start falling down. Here you might want to go too wide with this, so then just drop down anyways. That cactus is pretty annoying here usually, so just try to dodge it. So here's the route in its entirety. And once again, instantly upon landing, press circle plus X. Skip cinematic. And let's see the spawning location here. It looks like this. So we want to go to the complete opposite direction where the camera is facing right now. So let's move the camera. And we want to go over there. This cacti is on the way of our perfect line of movement. So what I do is that I press square instantly when the load has completed. So what I do here is that I hold 7 o'clock from the load, press X instantly, and I'm also turning the camera already, like immediately after the load. So I'm holding both the left stick and right stick down to a certain direction. I'm playing with the inverted camera, so I'm holding right with the analog stick, but if you're not playing with the inverted camera, you're probably holding left with the analog stick. So then just keep running forward past these corners of the train tracks until you reach this bouncy pad, this cart right here. You're gonna jump off, and the next trigger is over there. So you just want to fall down and instantly after you touch the ground, press circle plus start. Note here that cutting the corner optimally is usually not recommended because this is what will happen. You'll bonk on an invisible wall caused by these decorations alongside this building. This is how far the invisible wall reaches, so be cautious of that. You can with the optimal line of movement squeeze past that, but I still recommend to take it safe. So here's the route in its entirety. And start. Skip cinematic. Now, this is what it looks like after the next spawn. So we want to go over there. So you want to hold up left from the load. This is just a straight line of running, basically. You can hit these cacti if you want to, and also hit this chair and circle to start. And this right here is a double cutscene skip. You want to mash start instantly after skipping this cinematic in order to skip another cinematic right after this one, like this. So this is what it looks like when you spawn. So here you don't want to hold up left, you want to hold 11 o'clock from the load. So the movement will look like this. So you're just gonna run straight forward, and you'll reach this ledge, and then just paraglide over here, paraglide again, And here, you want to single jump circle boost on the train tracks, like this. Then just go along with the train tracks until you reach this point right here, and now you want to jump off from the train tracks while holding right, and you want to paraglide on the sheriff building platform in order to grab the Toothpick's lollipop. And then just run to get the lollipop. I'm pretty much always mashing circle already before I reach the trigger area in order to grab the lollipop optimally. So the route in its entirety looks as follows. So, single jump circle boost, just keep sliding, and jump off. Now, here you want to hold down right after getting the lollipop to run on this path where you're gonna bounce off, double jump circle boost, paraglide, single jump. Alternatively, you can just drop down and do a single jump circle boost. But anyway, you want to get over here. So this platform is pretty straight, but here you can see a tiny peak on the platform's height, although it keeps getting even higher until this end. This is where the altitude growth starts to decrease again. So from right here, you want to jump and aim towards that rock. So double jump, paraglide, do a single jump, and be prepared to press start button pretty much instantly after landing on the top platform. After the load, you want to hold 2 o'clock. Single jump circle boost, double jump circle boost, and then just keep circle boosting. So after spawning, the camera angle looks like this, and we want to go pretty much directly right. Here, when you jump on this pole, you can see this pipe starting to curve to the left again from your point of view. And when Sly's head reaches this point, which is about right here, you want to do a single jump to the right, and after that you want to do a double jump circle boost input on that telephone line above you. And when you're gonna do that, you want to hold up left. So here's the entire thing.
Okay, I just need to get up to that. This guy has an appreciation festival for himself. Okay, there's the bank. Just need to knock those clothespins off.
And that's it for Under Arrest. Here is an unskippable cutscene at the end of the job. So here, we're gonna start Jailhouse Blues split. And if you are doing a 100 or 200 loot route, you want to buy Adrenaline Burst here and mash triangle upon entering safe house. But only do this with these specific coin routes. If you got a 500 loot route, you already bought Adrenaline Burst in Breakout, as I did here with this file. And if you're doing a treasure route, then you're not gonna get Adrenaline Burst at all. So this only for 100 and 200 loot routes. Now I'm having 505 coins right now. If you got the 100 loot, then you should have just barely above 300 coins here optimally. And that should be just enough to buy AB. I've now switched to playing on a 200 loot route, and I have 432 coins over here. So this is how you buy Adrenaline Burst. And another important thing with this power-up route is that after purchasing Adrenaline Burst, you still want to scroll up 4 more rows, but don't buy anything else. Our goal with these 4 extra inputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, is to list Trigger Bomb as seen in the Thief Net. The order of power-ups in the Thief Net are based on the characters and the order of when the power-ups are unlocked, but the ThiefNet categorizes power-ups that have already been seen in the ThiefNet with previous ThiefNet visits, and new power-ups that you have not encountered yet since your previous ThiefNet visit differently. So the order of power-ups can be elusive this way. By listing Trigger Bomb as seen in the ThiefNet right here makes us scroll in the ThiefNet a lot less when we're actually gonna buy it. So all in all, after doing those 4 up inputs, you're just gonna simply exit ThiefNet. So this is what it looks like. Up, X, up, 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 up. circle mash X to enter the hub world. So now that we definitely, with majority of the different routes, actually have Adrenaline Burst, we're gonna go over how to use this power up optimally. So in order to do Adrenaline Burst, you have to double tap R1. Unlike with Slide 2 and 3 Adrenaline Bursts, you can do an Adrenaline Burst from a stationary position. Like now I'm just mashing R1 but nothing is happening. So you need to have a slight bit of momentum and then the double tap will work. Basically all the time we're already holding down R1 when executing Adrenaline Bursts. So we're just gonna let go of R1 for a brief moment and then double tap it. And it is not required to keep holding R1, but you're likely going to use all of it at once, so you can just keep holding R1 after the second double tap input. Also, you gotta note, Adrenaline Burst spends the thief meter just like hover pack does, so you can't do Adrenaline Bursts all the time, but this also means that you won't ever run out of juice indefinitely, so that you wouldn't be able to use AB again after a certain time. So you don't need any sort of health pickups or anything like that. So once again, just like the juice with the RC car, you also gotta manage the juice when using Adrenaline Burst. One nice thing with Adrenaline Bursts is that you can actually cancel it if you have used 60% or more of your gadget meter in one go, like this. And how you do this cancel, just tap R1 again or press R1 in the midst of the burst. Now there, it didn't cancel it because I still had more than 40% left in the gadget meter on the moment when I pressed R1 down again. Then it'll just do another burst. It's kind of weird. But this knowledge is important if you want to do efficient juice management. Also, another quick little thing. If you press R1 again, just before the juice runs out completely, you can see that it starts reloading a bit quicker than compared to me draining the juice again completely. This difference is like absolutely very minor. And let's go to the job next. Jailhouse Blues job trigger is located over there, and I'm still just gonna say that I'm gonna only demonstrate Adrenaline Burst routes in this job as Bentley. Reason for this is if you're doing this without Adrenaline Burst, the routes are pretty much exactly the same, but you just gotta do them without Adrenaline Burst. So from the load, start by holding up left, but quickly continue holding 1 o'clock, and basically straight from the load, double tap R1 in the meantime. And here, when you reach the right edge closer to you of this piece of sheet metal, then you want to single jump, and there will be a ledge that you'll just barely land on. And after reaching this ledge, single jump again on the train tracks. From here you want to do another Adrenaline Burst, but cancel it somewhere from 60% to 80% through it. If we would not cancel this AB, we would not have enough juice to reach the chop trigger on that other roof. And you want to start your hover when you reach this wooden plank. So you see this piece of wood just before it that reaches a bit further away from the train tracks. Yeah, it's the piece of wood right after that where we're gonna jump from optimally. So one word about that chop trigger. This chop trigger is the only chop trigger in the entire game where you don't have to do anything after triggering it. There's not even a chalk talk for you to press circle and skip. There's nothing. Just look at this. There's nothing.
Looks like it's up to me to recon the area.
No cutscene, nothing. So from the start, what you want to do here when you enter the chop trigger is to stay still for 1 second and then start holding up on the analog stick. I just accidentally did the no AB route. So if you bounced on this cart optimally, you can just instantly jump on this sheet without doing extra running. And if you're even more optimal than that, then after jumping on this sheet, you don't even have to do a double jump or use the hover pack in order to reach this part of the roof. But usually that's not the case, so feel free to just quickly tap the hover pack or keep holding it in order to reach the roof. So with AB, And when you reach the trigger, you want to zoom on the left stick and hold down right with the right stick. You don't even need half of the zoom to take this picture, and I recommend you to kind of mash R1 but loosely. That can make it easier to take the picture, because if you don't have that great control of the Binocucom, you might just quickly hit the target but then just keep sliding past it. But anyways, after taking the picture, hold 2 o'clock and do an adrenaline burst off the roof. Cut the bad landing, wait for the gadget meter to refill itself. Do an adrenaline burst and then do another adrenaline burst. Do a third one. If a guard is that close, go and smack him. Usually I would not instruct you to hit guards, but this is an exception, always hit that guard. So right when you get past the corner of this building, do an AB. So jump off here and use AB once more. So here, note that you can jump already from about here. Your jumps do cover that great of a distance. So the trigger is right there. An important optimization is that you don't try to hug this wall. So right here I'm holding the left stick against the side of this building. So the result of this is that I have to run for a brief moment. But this is not the case if I start holding my left stick towards the trigger area after passing the roof of that building. See how much further I'm gonna get. You can see that this picture requires the greatest amount of zoom out of these 3 in this job, and the default view looks like this, so you want to be holding down or left when the Binocucom opens, but not that much. Just flicking the right stick 2 or 3 times down left should be enough. So after this picture you want to hold 11 o'clock and you want to AB off the roof. Cut the bad landing, AB again, run past these carts, AB once again, quick double jump, AB into the trigger. The slope jump here is actually that easy that you don't have to extend your X inputs at all here. You can just simply press X again as earliest as you can. So here just quickly X, 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 and the trigger is located over there. Default view looks like this, so really don't need that much zoom here, nor panning. The level of zooming is about equivalent with the first picture. So what I do here is that I just simply zoom and hold down on right analog stick, or slightly, just ever so slightly down left. It'll take the picture, and now we're gonna head into a load. We're gonna go to the jail in this episode, and after this quite lengthy load, press start in order to skip a cinematic, and you'll spawn as Sly in the Jailbird costume for the first time. So let's go over a few basic things with the Jailbird costume first. So just like with the samurai armor, movement with this costume is extremely slow. It basically only has the throw ability. So in EP2 we just used the Jailbird costume to just quickly do these throws and then just exit the costume immediately because it's so slow that it's completely useless in other scenarios. And of course it has the rolling ability that we'll cover later in this job. And you can see that the throwing animation is quite lengthy and it locks your movement for entirety of the animation. That's why we also want to hit the targets that we need to hit from as close range as possible, because this will make the throwing animation much faster. Like, just compare the periods of time where your movement is being locked. So after skipping the cinematic, hold up and go as close to the wall as possible, break it, and fall down. But here we'll be introduced to a unique type of skip in this game, which is called the Binocucom cutscene cancel. It abuses a mechanic where a certain camera angle of a cutscene is being cancelled by the Binocucom. It kind of just interrupts a predetermined camera angle with another camera angle. This will be used a few times in the game, but mostly in episode 2, and this is the easiest location where you can pull it off. When you're in a samurai arbor, jailbird costume, or saber-tooth costume, there is not a Binocucom opening animation present. So we're gonna abuse this here by mashing R3 when we're starting to fall, or at least just before we're about to hit the ground. And this is what happens.
Right, here's your chance. Use the ball to
it completely skipped the cutscene. The skip is very easy, but if you somehow miss it, mash start and skip the cinematic here manually then. Now, despite the movement with the Jailbird costume being really slow, you can still quickly change the direction you're facing by just flicking the analog stick quickly or just simply holding to a certain direction. Sly will quickly turn despite the fact that he actually moves very slowly. So oftentimes this is handy if you're not facing the direction where you should throw the ball instantly after swapping into the Jailbird costume. Hopefully knowing this will make you not miss any throws. This first one is a good example of it. See how I'm not facing towards my target when I swap into the costume, but you see me facing towards it instantly after I have swapped on the costume. Like this. After you can move again, mash L2 in order to exit the Jailbird costume, then wait for the info pop-up screen to appear, press X to cancel it, and instantly after cancelling, press X again to single jump over the fence, and when you have a clear shot at breaking the tower door, throw the ball, and already during the throwing animation, start mashing L2 in order to exit the Jailbird costume as quickly as you can after the animation has ended. So the furthest you can throw this is around here. Then just exit and let's go to the next target. Note that you don't always have to aim your throw directly at the red dot. In example here, the throw connects if the ball hits an area anywhere within that metal thing on the floor. So you can be standing at this corner, but if you're facing to this direction, it'll still connect. Let's just keep going. So run straight, turn right, another throw, go left, right, another throw. Then here you have to jump over this gap. Very simple. Now when playing this for the first time you might get a bit lost here, so that's kinda expected. Now after exiting this crawl space, this is a pretty tricky one, since there are these spiders. We can use a precise Jailbird costume equip in order to kill those spiders instantly. Usually you'll get tossed around, so just try to hit the target. So after crawl space, swipe, and equip the costume. So equipping Jailbird costume has a similar effect to the dive spin move, in a sense that equipping it automatically creates a zone that can briefly damage either breakable objects or enemies below Sly. So watch this. They're all dead. So here in fact we're gonna curve to the left after getting out of the crawl space. 2 cane swipes, trigger it. So after this final target, aim to the left corner of that entrance and you'll trigger the cutscene and mash start in order to skip a cinematic. So this is what it looks like when you spawn after skipping the previous cinematic. You can just simply equip the costume and throw. So simply hold up, mash L2 from the load, and then just circle boost a bit on the rope. Note that you can't land on the rope before the platform you threw has completely reached the other end. So that's why I jump on it from the edge of this platform and kinda delay the second X input in purpose, because I know that I just simply cannot do an optimal circle boost on that rope. So there's a trigger at the end of this, and I just recommend you to run into the trigger and then mash start in order to skip a cinematic after reaching it. But you can also do the Binocucom cutscene cancel by pressing R3 right before you enter the trigger area. I missed it there, but how it basically works is that after pressing R3 from running speed, Sly still has enough momentum to basically slide into the trigger area. It saves less than a second, and it's also super precise, so kinda something you shouldn't bother about. Looks like that. So then just go and if you just entered the cutscene normally and skip the cinematic, the view you get after looks like this. So here's a couple of beginner level strats. So hold up left from the load, only throw that center cart, go up here, wait for the lights to pass, And from here, paraglide on this platform. Or alternatively, don't throw any of the carts. Instead, go up these stairs, turn around, and paraglide on top of the cart itself. Dodge the guard by jumping and paragliding to the right. Even if you would get spotted by the guard, you can still just run over here. Pushback animations are pretty much non-existent when you're in a Jailbird costume. Or then we can do the optimal strat that only throws this first card, like this. And just run under the spotlights, doesn't matter. Jump on this barrel and wait for the spotlight to go away. Now this little skip here is referred as barrel jump. So jumping on this barrel is kind of precise, so I recommend you to practice it a bit. Very easy to fail, especially if you're just learning the speedrun of this game for the first time. So take your time with it. And here, in fact, optimally, you do have time to turn the camera around in order to see when the spotlight starts moving further away from you again. Now, if something like this happens and the barrel breaks, then you just have no other option than just to run up the stairs and do the backup strat. So then just throw the ball. And instantly after the throw connects, stop mashing start in order to skip a cinematic. And now you can see here that the next trigger is literally in front of you. It's so goddamn close that all you gotta do is to just run straight after you spawn. So simply like this. And I'll skip this next cinematic as well. After the spawn, mash L2, hold up. This is kind of an auto-scroller here. There's nothing you can do to speed up these fires here, so do just as I'm doing right here. Mash first L2, then square. And here, try to scramble together a few coins, since you kind of have time to farm coins a bit, but just a few. Don't spend too much time on it. So here, equip the costume and wait here until the fire goes away, and then you press square and then just keep running and jumping over these platforms and turn right, and when the cutscene triggers, mash start in order to skip the next cinematic as well. After this cinematic, we unlock the rolling ability of the Jailbird costume. So it's rolling faster than running speed. Here we have to roll regardless, but simply put, it has kind of a slow acceleration, but the top speed is faster than running speed. It actually generates to be higher than running speed rather quickly. So that's why, since we have to roll here for quite some time, we want to swap the Jailbird costume on instantly after the load and start rolling as quickly as we can. So indeed, from the load, mash L2 and then R2 and just keep on rolling. Do not care about the spotlights, you don't have to. And then mash start in order to once again skip the cinematic. And after this cinematic skip, once again mash L2 from the load and hold up on the analog stick. And instantly, once again, mash start to skip another cinematic. This job has a lot of cinematic skips back to back, and when you're just learning the speedrun for the first time, I guarantee you that it'll take some time to memorize what to do after every loading screen, but don't worry, it'll come over time. So this is what it looks like when you spawn in this room. So you want to hold 11 o'clock from the load, because first off, we're gonna move this cart in the far left. After that, we're gonna move this cart on the far right, or ahead of you. And this main cart that unlocks the next door is the cart you want to move last, after these other two carts. We're gonna hit this cart once, this cart twice, the second cart twice, and this final third cart 3 times in total. So that's easy to remember. Cart 1, hit it once. Cart 2, hit it twice. And cart 3, hit it thrice. So in action, 11 o'clock from the load. Cart 1, hit it once. You can already throw the ball from quite far away. Cart 2, hit it twice from 2 sides. And cart 3, first hit, second hit, and the final hit. And then just run straight. And here you can do the Binocucom cancel if you want to, but you don't have to. I can only recommend going for this Binocucom cutscene cancel, only if you're going for the fastest strats in the next room, because the second fastest route after that does not benefit at all from this little cancel. So if you're doing it, wait for the cutscene to end and hold left after it fades out. But if you're not doing the cancel, then just mash start in order to skip a cinematic after you enter that trigger. So here in this final room there are all kinds of skips. Even for beginners, I'm always going to recommend you to skip even a little portion of this room. But the most optimal strat goes from the right, and this is a really advanced little strat here that saves 12.5 seconds over the second fastest strats. Reason for this difference is that the second fastest route runs through the lasers before they spawn, but you can't do that if you do the cutscene cancel. Let's go over the second fastest route, which is beginner friendly. So from the load, hold up, and from around here start paragliding to this corner, hit the block, start rolling, roll over this uneven surface, stop rolling, hit the block, start rolling again, exit the costume, paraglide over these bricks, and paraglide over here in order to hit this block, and then roll over the lasers to the trigger. Now, because this surface is once again uneven, if you have too much speed here when going over this block, you can't stop your momentum before falling to your death. So don't have max speed here when you're doing this turn. Now for the skip. And the reason why this is so hard is that you have to jump on two very tiny surfaces where you can actually jump off from back to back with difficult angles, difficult camera angles, and there's also invisible walls involved. You see this platform over here? That is surrounded by invisible walls right now, and this pipe is a slope. It's a slippery slope. You can only land on it from certain angles, otherwise you'll just slide off of it. This pipe does not allow you to stand indefinitely on it in any point of its surface. So no matter where you land on it, you always have to jump off of it instantly. So I recommend you to just aim to the middle of it, and that's just fine. Here you can see the invisible wall. So since the invisible wall reaches all the way to this corner, you gotta dodge the invisible wall in order to reach this platform where you can stand on over here. And even that platform is very tiny. This is all the surface you've got. You fall down over here, you die. Good news is that dying once and getting this skip second try is still faster than doing the slower route in its entirety. And then when reaching this platform where you can stand on, you still have to paraglide over here. So hold 4 o'clock from the load. I already start turning the camera instantly after I see that the load has completed. Then just keep paragliding and instantly swap the Jailbird Costume on when you reach the ground and throw the block and hit the trigger. And here, do not skip the cinematic. This cinematic is too short that skipping it would actually lose time compared to just watching it. Hit the final block, jump over the bricks, and just run straight to the ending trigger. Now, this is an unskippable cutscene, so just watch that, and it'll be followed by a load. So, after this load, once again, just like with every episode, aside from episode 5, after the second job of the episode, there will be a cinematic where the ancestor explains some stuff. So after the load, mash circle. Mash X to select Bentley as fast as you can, and we're gonna go to a job called Cooper for Hire. So just like with Jailhouse Blues, from the load, you want to double tap R1 to do an AB instantly, and you want to hold up left, but then you want to switch holding slightly up left. Quickly after that, single jump over the fence, cut the bad landing, do an AB again, jump on the train tracks from the left side of the telephone line pole, drop down, and when you touch the ground, do one last AB to the job trigger. And now here, this is another chalk talk job trigger. So not mash start, only mash circle upon triggering it. Now we're gonna enter a section that is mostly an auto-scroller where we follow Toothpick around the map. Instead of walking all the time, Toothpick stops for a total of 6 times during this auto-scroller, and during this animation he pretty much checks all of his surroundings. But Toothpick has one other stationary animation that you only see if Toothpick notices a noise you made. But the neat thing here is that that animation can actually cancel the default animation that plays 6 times during this auto-scroller. And this actually ends up saving time, since this animation that we make Toothpick to do after cancelling the default animation is shorter than the default animation. So this is how you make noise kinda optimally in this auto-scroller. One example. When Toothpick lowers his guns, you break the barrels. Now this is an auto-scroller, of course, so you also want to get a few coins here and there, but don't go too overboard with them or too risky. It's not worth it, but try to get some coins, please. Thank you. There, I hit that cactus. That animation won't reset, even if you break more than one object during one animation, like for example a bottle, etc. Here we're gonna break this cactus right here. Watch over that guard. Now this guard has a loot. It's a 500 loot. I'm gonna explain that loot in a bit. Now here we don't have any objects to break, so what I opt to do is to run behind Toothpick. Basically I'm already moving, but when Toothpick stops, that's when I start holding R1. He's gonna do this one last time, and we're once again gonna make some noise by running behind him. And this is the end of the auto-scroller. Keep a close range to Toothpick when the auto-scroller stops, or the end trigger won't load. After it fades to black, start mashing start in order to skip the next cinematic. So now I'm gonna explain what was up with that loot I got. So only a total of 4 flashlight guards are spawned during this auto-scroller section. So more than half the time, at least one of these guards is carrying loot. The 100 loot is a gold nugget, 200 loot is a deputy badge, and the 500 loot is a silver belt buckle. Now this is a really advanced coin routing section, and it only saves like a few seconds, and failing the job loses a lot of time in this auto-scroller, so feel free to not worry about it at all when just learning the speed game. So taking a loot in this auto-scroller stops Toothpick for 4 seconds, so it does lose that amount of time. The way it can save time back is that with either a 500 or 200 worth loot, it is possible to buy Trigger Bomb and possibly some other gadgets too earlier, so that we can use the gadgets earlier and save more time in the process. So I'll just quickly explain the changes, but I won't show any ThiefNet purchases or anything like that. So here, the loot that you're about to take does matter, so don't just blindly mash circle if you find the loot. First you gotta check what loot is it. Is it a nugget? Is it a badge? Is it a silver buckle? Because the nugget is something that you never want to take. So first, the most common option. You are on a 100 or 200 Paris loot route. You managed to get a 500 loot in Cooper for hire. This means that instead of getting Trigger Bomb for episode 3 operation, you're gonna buy it already in Jailbreak. If you get a 200 loot in Paris, then you can also buy Auto Fire. That's it. 100 or 200 loots in Cooper for hire are not worth anything. Then you're on a 500 loot route. You come across a 200 deputy badge in Cooper for hire. What do? You do the same thing. You buy Auto Fire and Trigger Bomb in Jailbreak. Well, what if you're on a 500 loot route from Paris and you get a 500 loot in Cooper for hire? Well, then you're gonna buy Trigger Bomb along with Rail Sprint already in Saloon Bug, which is the next split. And finally, you are doing the treasure route, the gyro slicer route. Remember that? And you come across a 500 loot in Cooper for hire. Well then, you once again buy Trigger Bomb and Auto Fire in Jailbreak, but also Adrenaline Burst. Because remember, the treasure route would not get adrenaline burst otherwise. After the autoscroller, we gotta take down 30 scorpions in order to protect Bentley, and we're gonna start from the right side. Scorpions can spawn from 4 different locations, and after starting from right side, you're gonna want to switch sides each time you kill 2 of those scorpions that have spawned from the same side. Exceptions for this are 8, 18, and 28 scorpions. After you have destroyed these amounts of scorpions in total, you're gonna want to stay on that same side where you killed the previous scorpion. You're gonna want to wait for the next scorpions to spawn on that same side. And you're gonna kill the 2 last scorpions with the same TNT barrel, and you wanna shoot that instantly after the 29th scorpion has spawned. After this, there's a tiny unskippable cutscene that leads into a load, and this leads to the next system cracker hack in the game. So this is what it looks like when you spawn in the hack. So when you spawn, you want to hold 5 o'clock. So hold 5 o'clock for 1 second and then start holding right. Go to this firewall, wiggle around it and get the speeder code. Now here, squeeze through that firewall with precise movement. Shoot all these dots and just tank these shots by these enemy drones. Half health here is just fine. Do a loop. Switch back to the shell code. Pick up the data key. Put it in the station. Hold 7 o'clock. Go past these straps. You're gonna want to swap back to the speeder code and start the loop rather early. Wait patiently. Wait out these cycles patiently. Switch back to the shell code. Avoid these digital wormholes, and we're gonna go to the final stage. Start by holding 1 o'clock and aim your shooting directly up. There's a firewall that you need to shoot far ahead that you won't even see it. Now I have a rather low health here, but even with this health I think I can pull it off. So watch closely. Get the speeder code, shoot the firewall, shoot one of those tanks, that far tank. It requires 5 hits. Do the same here. Only shoot the other one. Keep shooting the firewall and the boss. Now here you're gonna keep shooting the other tank while you're taking the data key. You have to keep moving and shooting. Now here, if you did the shooting optimally, there probably won't be that many dots left here. So when you come from here, you can just go straight to the trigger. With multiple dots left, I suggest you to wiggle around the firewall. And if you're just learning the game and don't feel confident by doing this, then of course take out both of those tanks with the speeder code already while dodging the shots from the tripod. So let's go to the end trigger. And that's it for the hack. After this hack, there will be an unskippable cutscene. Do not mash start after this load. Here it is. So the only thing we do in the hop world is that we watch a cutscene and then it's up to the next load already. Now after this load, you can mash start since there will be a cinematic that we skip. Now we're controlling Tennessee for the first time, so let's go over Tennessee's movement. So otherwise Tennessee is an exact copy of Slot, except that he doesn't have paraglider, obviously, and then he has the shooting mode, the shooting option. So in the aim mode, Tennessee walks with the same speed as he does by walking normally, so the unit speed value there is 6.3, which is lower than single jumping 7.5 or running's 9.5. So that's why we kind of want to use this shooting mode and the crack shot mode that we'll come across in a bit as less as possible with general movement, although the aim mode does hold one benefit over the base gameplay mode, and it's that when guards shoot at Tennessee, he's gonna normally get knocked back unless he's in the aiming mode. Then he's just gonna endure shots and just basically continue walking through them with invisibility frames. So this can be useful in certain scenarios, especially in this job. But taking damage in the aim mode will likely set Tennessee in a glitched state where he cannot escape the aim mode. Even if you would let go of L1, Tennessee will still stay in the aim mode. What to do in these situations when you don't want to be in the aim mode anymore? Press X button. Now this first wall door is gonna take 6 shots to open, but before that there's a brief auto-scroller section where you don't have anything better to do than to farm coins. Hawk the door and run through it. And run straight until you come across a cutscene, but do not skip this cutscene. This cutscene is too short to be skipped. Then hold 11 o'clock, you need to shoot that trigger like this. And because of the auto-targeting mode, this is very easy. The auto-targeting with Tennessee in this game is very forgiving. Like, do you see a target there? Or there? Or there? But still, it categorizes this as a target. Let's see what happens when I press R1. Nice. So this is not precise at all. You just need to kinda aim to somewhere in that direction and it'll probably connect. Like, look at this. This is ridiculous. So after shooting the trigger, keep running straight. You'll come across some spiders, but do not hit those spiders. Do not. This is what happens. So just keep running straight. Don't hit the spiders. And when you reach the trigger, mash start in order to skip a cinematic. And after the cinematic, this is the view you're gonna get. Now we're introduced to the crackshot technique, which has maximum target amount of 6. You want to use this crackshot technique as less as possible, even in cycle-based scenarios, because it slows the in-game time to only 20%. Also, another good thing with the aim mode is that you cannot fall down from ledges. The aim mode prevents that. So after spawning here, after skipping the cutscene, you can just walk forwards as long as you're in the aim mode and not fall down. So from the load, you want to hold 3 buttons simultaneously. You want to hold up on the left analog stick, you want to hold R2 down, and you want to aim the vault targets with the crackshot technique. After targeting all the targets, let go of R2. When the door is opening, go to the edge of this ledge, and when you see that the camera angle starts panning back to its default position, do a single jump circle boost on the left rail and start your rail sliding. Now there's nothing really that advanced with the rail sliding sections, just follow my movement. It's optimal to slide on the rail, that's the inner rail most of the time. Avoid unnecessary jumping because that loses time. When we get to the end of the first rail sliding sections, shoot the TNT and the coyote that are located above your intended path. Run past the guards and tank the shots that they shoot at you. Hit this guard, then either quickly crackshot this flashlight guard or tank through his shots with the aim mode. You can also be quick enough to just get past the corner without doing these precautions. Keep jumping instantly after taking damage in order to cut the knockback animation short. Go behind the corner to avoid any further shots from the flashlight guard. Run up this ramp and instantly when you see that you have a clear shot at all the targets, start holding R2 in order to target them with the crack shot. This time the rails are a bit further away from the platform you're standing on, so this time instead do a double jump circle boost on the right rail. Then just keep rail sliding, just basically follow what I do until we get to the end of the second rail sliding section. Here the safer method indeed is to just crackshot these 2 guards. But there's gonna be a guard after that. Oh my goodness gracious. When you reach this point right here, hit this jackalope. And then do the same thing with this vault door, just like with the other ones. This one is close enough to just single jump circle boost. This vault door requires 4 shots. And next up, the last vault door, keep the aim mode ready and crack shots 6 times on that vault door, and that's it for the job. One thing to note here is that if you don't have that great knowledge of the map layout, then you're probably gonna get lost to these little dead ends that all these platforming sections hold. So kind of just like with Jailhouse Blues, you're just gonna play the game a lot in order to know where to turn. As usual, the job ends with an unskippable cutscene, and we're gonna go into a load. And after the load, mash X to select Sly, and let's instantly move on to the next job, Saloon Bug. Of course, remember to buy the trigger bomb here if you're doing the treasure route. Here, after the load, you want to hold up and single jump. So the movement to Saloon Bug job trigger is pretty straightforward. After doing the single jump over the fence, you want to drop down on train tracks, and don't have optimal line of movement here because of the train. If you're going to cut this too optimally, the train is gonna kill you. So just barely dodge the train. Jump over here, keep running forwards, jump here and drop down, and instantly when you touch the ground, do a single jump circle boost on this fence. And instantly after landing on this fence, do a single jump circle boost on that rail. And instantly after landing on this rail, jump off, and the trigger is right there, and we're gonna use that chimney pipe here in order to get to that chop trigger optimally. As you can see, we can connect to that spire point from insane distance. Like, watch this, that's pure insanity. So when you jump off this rail, you want to line your line of movement in a way that you'll be running directly towards the chop trigger. Then you can see these stripes. You can say that they're kind of like stripes when you look at them from this perspective. So let's just say there are stripes on the ground. So you want to do a single jump circle boost when you hold your movement towards the chop trigger from directly between these 2 black stripes. So the animation gets cancelled by the ledge that was in front of the spire point object. If your jump starting position is too much to the right or too close, you're gonna bonk too quickly and you won't reach the top of the platform. And if your jump position is too much to the left, then you'll land on the spire point missing the trigger. If you miss the trigger, do inputs that remind you of the scuff boost in slide 3. So X, and instantly after X, square. So indeed, after hitting the chop trigger, mash start in order to skip cinematic, and after the load, hold 1 o'clock and double jump into a paraglider. Go into this trigger, and this is an unskippable cutscene that ends with a load, and from this load you want to mash start in order to skip a cinematic, and after that you want to restart checkpoint instantly afterwards. Here would be a tutorial for the Sarsaparilla serving minigame, but we don't need to watch that, so just restart checkpoint. Here is the Sarsaparilla minigame. Stay in the center at all times in order to average out the RNG. So these spawns are RNG, but it's no can do. Just play through this minigame. These steers are gonna ask you to serve 1, 2, or 3 cups of sarsaparilla. And there's really no other strats than to stay at the center throughout the entire minigame. I use D-pad for the swaps here. And that's about it. From the fade out, hold up and mash X and circle, and hold 11 o'clock to land on this pipe. The intended route is rather lengthy and requires crawling and such, but we're not gonna do that here because there's a skip here. So paraglide down, dodge these flashlights, and especially dodge these little mugs and bottles on the ground because they break just from touching them. So we can reach that pipe from the ground level by using the stove. And the way this works is that we paraclimb on top of an invisible platform that is very narrow and ranges from all the way from the wall to directly above the stove itself. Now if I go past this point, I'm gonna start falling down. This works from both sides and isn't too difficult of a paraclimb, but certainly does take some practice in order to control. If you open the paraglider from the height of your double jump, it's usually just enough to just open 2 paragliders. 1, 2, in order to get on top. Same from both sides. 1, 2. It's very easy to go overboard with it and then just miss the platform and fall down on the other side. So after you reach this platform, single jump circle boost on a pipe and instantly single jump off, and then just put on the Jailbird Costume and break this cask. But I want to show an alternative strat which is faster and harder, and this is referred as chair strat. It involves you to jump on this chair, which is actually pretty hard, and then the chair will break and you'll get spotted and shit. So if you want to be the super optimal hardcore runner, then jump on this chair. After throwing the ball, exit the Jailbird Costume, single jump up, and keep running forwards. You can do a Binocucom cutscene cancel here, and it actually saves like 6 seconds. But just like with the ones in Jailhouse Blues, this is really tight. If you miss the Binocucom cutscene cancel, then just skip the cinematic and hold up from the load. Mash circle when you drop down the ledge, paraglide over this guard, and there are a few scenarios that can happen with that guard in particular. Here he is walking to this direction, so jump on this pinwheel, and over here, and hit the trigger. Then sometimes the guard might not be coming to this direction, so then just double jump here, and then double jump circle boost on the fence, and then hit the trigger. Now there's a trigger here that leads to a lengthy intended platforming section along the walls, but we're not gonna do that since here's the second skip and it involves this slot machine. So I guess this is the slot machine strat. Simply jump on the controls and then just double jump and use the paraglider to get up. The paraglider isn't actually even mandatory, it just makes it easier. And then we're gonna reach the next trigger by paragliding straight to it from this platform. But of course, since I didn't get the checkpoint over there, that trigger isn't loaded yet. So it's very important to always remember that this trigger is here. You need to hit it first like this before you can go over to the slot machine. And now the skip works. Skip cinematic, and you're gonna spawn as the RC car. So from the load, hold 1 o'clock and L1 in order to boost with the RC car. Now you're gonna dodge these lasers from the right side of them. And once again, remember the proper juice management that I told you about in the Target Tail segment in the last part of this series. So don't use boosts when you're bouncing downhill, since your momentum is being preserved somewhat. And also, when you get to these fan sections here that block your way, don't use juice when you're reaching them. Instead, let the juice reload when you're getting near a fan so that you'll have full juice after the fan blows go away. If you get hit by the blowing fan, it's an insta-kill and a huge death. Then when you see these spiders, shoot them from far away already so they can't conk you up. If you're optimal, you're gonna make it through these lasers without taking damage, and then you're at the end of the job. And this is a lengthy unskippable cutscene that'll lead back to the safe house. And just mash X when you get there. But that's it for this part. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and all that sellout stuff. And we'll see you in the next one.